Hello everyone and welcome to my GERTi v1.5 installation tutorial. As just mentioned, this tutorial is for version 1.5 of the GERTi protocol. However, if this video is still up, then that means that the installation process has not changed. In order to set up a minimal network, you'll need one computer which will house the master network controller, or MNC, and then you'll need at least one other computer that will serve as a client. For recommended setups, I usually recommend one dedicated master network controller and two clients. The reason for this is that you can think of the master network controller as equivalent to a router that you would find in the average house. And so I usually like to set that aside for network services, and just for network management. I will be covering a couple different options. So let's get started. The first step for a basic installation is you're going to want to install GERTi mnc.lua to etc rc.d. There are a couple ways you can do it. So as you can see here, this is the directory that you want to install it to, /etc/rc.d. You can either copy paste the code into a file called GERTi mnc.lua. You can, if you have access to the file system of the Minecraft server, you can copy the file directly in if you have buffering disabled in open computers. But the easiest way is to use wget and to copy in the URL. It is linked in the text setting up a GERT network on the GERT wiki. However, you can also get it by simply navigating to the repository and selecting the GERTi MSC. As you notice here, it's raw.github-user-content.com. If you grab the URL manually, you'll want to make sure that you grab the raw version, because otherwise, the raw version will just download the text of the file. If you don't do the raw version, wget won't download it correctly because it will attempt to load the whole GitHub user interface. So as you see, downloaded, saved. And then we have GERTi mnc.lua. If you want to set GERTi mnc to run on startup, you simply do rc GERTi mnc enable, which will enable it. If you want to set it, if you don't want to set it to run every startup, all you have to do is each time you restart the open computer's computer housing GERTi mnc, you just have to do GERTi mnc start, and that will start the MNC. So we'll go ahead and do that. If you notice, it returns to the shell, and then if about 5 seconds later you get this message, setup complete. Once you see that message, setup complete, you know that the MNC is running. If when you start it, when you do rc GERTi mnc enable, you will still see the setup complete message, because GERTi mnc usually runs around 5 seconds after the computer has finished loading. Now, of course, we have our master network controller, but we need a client. So you go over to another computer. GERTi client can go either in /lib, or it can go in /uzr/lib. /uzr/lib I don't believe exists by default on OpenOS. However, you can make the directory using make. So, for instance, I'll remove lib. You can do make dir lib, and as you can see now, you have /uzr/lib. So, similar thing, you wget it, and you once again, you want the raw GitHub user content link, otherwise it won't work. So it downloads, saves the data, And now you can see GERTi client. Now, at this point, you're going to want to make sure that the computers have a connection to each other, whether it is a wired network card, like I have in some of the computers, a wireless network card, or a link card. If the two computers can pass either a modem or a tunnel message to each other, that will work. So once you have confirmed that and you have started the master network controller, then on a computer with the client, you can go ahead and run require GERTi client either in the Lua shell, or you can require it in the in an auto run file, which I will cover shortly. So as you can see, I required it, and then I ran the get address function. You can see that it has an address. Now we know that it's working. One important thing to note is if you notice here, I went into the Lua interpreter, and Lua 5.3 came up. If you do not use Lua 5.3, GERTi may not function correctly. There's a couple of differences on how Lua parses variable types between 5.2 and 5.3, which causes problems if you run GERTi on a computer with Lua 5.2. So if you are experiencing problems with GERTi, make sure that all computers connected to the network are running Lua 5.3 before you go ahead and ask about a bug. So as you can see, we have the basic network setup. Again, on another computer, we can say wget client. Again, notice I have Lua 5.3 running. I required it. And another address, 0.2. GERTi addresses will increment from 0.1 to 4095.4095, which is a total of 16 million addresses. I doubt that anyone will run out of those, but if you do, please feel free to let me know. Now, as you notice, when you require it, it takes a couple seconds. So if you're looking for fast response from programs, you may want to do the first require on startup. And the question is, of course, how do you do that? So you go to the root folder, cd /, and then you make an autorun.lua file. It can be as simple as local GERTi client equals require GERTi client. You see it as the autorun.lua program. And again, that's local GERTi client equals require GERTi client. And that will require the GERTi client on startup. There are a couple different ways of doing it, but this is the way that I use the most, and I recommend for others. Now, this is the recommended network setup: 2 or more clients, 1 master network controller. As you can see here, I have a whole lot of computers for network testing. I could go ahead and install GERTi client on all of them, but it would be the same process. Now, there is an alternative network setup. If you want to make a network with only 2 computers, then what you have to do is you have to install the MNC API. Now, it's very important to note that the MNC API will be installed as GERTi client.lua. The reason for this is because the MNC API will support all client programs. So if you don't install this GERTi client, require won't see it, and the programs again won't be able to load correctly. So it can go in a /lib or /user/lib. I'm just installing it in /lib here. So wget. Again, got that raw GitHub user content. Notice it's on the server, on the GitHub account, it's module/mnc API.lua. However, locally, we're going to call it GERTi client.lua. Can't emphasize that enough. Once the MNC is running, whether you've done RC GERTi MNC start, gotten the setup complete, or you've done RC GERTi MNC enable, and the system is started, you can go ahead and require the MNC API. Again, notice Lua 5.3, very important. Once that's complete, now you can run client programs and you can run a network with only 2 computers. Last up, second to last, sorry, is the DNS. So again, we're going to go back to /etc/rc.d. We're going to go ahead and wget dns.lua. And as you can see, it is in dns.lua. Just like with GERTi MNC, you can either enable it or you can do rc dns start after each startup. So now DNS is running, which is useful for deploying DNS across networks. I won't be covering how to use the various modules. I will only be covering how to install things. The last thing is that if, let's see. Oops. RM, not RC. If you have not installed GERTi MNC, then a good option is the installer. So I will just put it in /UZR, which is, so the GERT installer, which I had open in another tab and then promptly close it, is called MNC installer. And with this one file, you can deploy a number of different modules. It's what I consider a good starting setup for a network. So we will take a quick look at what the installer does. So the first thing it does is it installs GERTi MNC. It installs the MNC API. It installs the GERT update server, which will allow you to update GERTi client, GERTi MNC, and various modules on the network. I won't be covering how to use it, as I said, but it is important to know that it does exist, so GERT does support updating itself. The updating and DNS modules, so the MNC API, update, DNS, all optional. However, I especially recommend DNS because I think it's a reasonable user improvement. So installs DNS, installs the recommended configuration for the GERT update server. Then it opens the auto-run file to require the GERT update server on startup. And then it runs shell.execute rc GERTi MNC enable, rc DNS enable. What this means is that it sets it so that all the services will automatically start. So you just run it, MNC installer. It failed opening file for writing UZR lib. So it failed opening /UZR/lib/GERT update server because /UZR/lib does not exist. So before running the file, if you want to make sure everything works right, you will want to run make-dir lib under /UZR if the lib directory does not already exist. If /UZR/lib already exists, don't need to worry. So now everything's set up, and when I restart the computer, I will be able to use GERTi with the recommended base modules. So that's all for this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to either comment on this video or reach out to me on Discord. If you go to the GERT GitHub repository, you can find my Discord name and an invite to the server where I do the support. And even if you don't have any questions, but you say, hey, I'm using GERT, you're still welcome to comment or join the Discord server and join the conversation. So that's all for this video. I hope you have a good day.